I love
So
that.
is Austin Cavelli. Go check her out over on Instagram. And yes, Austin, we are going to jump right into this.
Perfect.
Quality Carnivore is her username. So go follow Quality Carnivore. She's a physician assistant and dietary consultant, has a lot of experience with the carnivore diet. You
Yes.
basically live and breathe it. Didn't you have another name before Quality Carnivore?
It was just my personal account. Yeah, and that was
Off, off,
Keep
love,
Off
or
Weird was my personal account.
yeah.
Yeah, it went off of the Austin, Texas little thing, but actually it's from Portland. My brother told me he lives in Portland, Oregon, and Keep Portland Weird was the original,
Yeah.
apparently.
I remember when I went to Austin, Texas for Paleo FX first, and then Keto Con happened later.
Yes,
There's like a little building or something that has Keep Austin Weird.
yes.
I saw your username for the first time. I went, oh, there's somebody that knows Austin, Texas.
Yes, I know. I would get asked all the time, especially every day from patients. If I was from there or if I grew up there, if that was the inspiration for my name. And neither of my parents have ever even been to Austin, Texas.
Oh,
It was
wow.
like my dad. There was a female in some beauty pageant on TV whose name was Austin, and he loved it. And my mom wanted to make it feminine. She wanted to do like Austina or Austine, and my dad was like, no. Austin it is. So I'm glad because I like Austin much better than those.
Or Austinette, that would be really weird.
Yeah, they were trying to add a vowel at the end, and I was like, no, good thing.
Well, the funny thing is Austin could be a male or female name, and it's nice
Right.
to be mysterious. There's no doubting what Jimmy is. I don't know many Jimmy girls, and so
Right. That's true. Yeah, no, there has been times where I've gone in even for like an interview for a job and they expect a male. So then I had changed my resume to Miss Austin Cavelli just so they had at least a heads up.
that's so horrible. Well, we could talk about funky monkey names all day, but we're here to talk
Yes.
about what you're passionate about. You are a PA, and I definitely want to get into that angle of this story first. But you've got a lot of knowledge about carnivore diets. You yourself eat a carnivore
Yes.
diet, helped
Yes.
people kind of design carnivore. Definitely want to get into all the ins and outs of that. But back up how you got into the medical profession. A PA, I think PAs are the most devalued aspect of the medical health system because doctors get all the attention. Oh,
They
MD.
do.
And then you've got the nurses who also get a lot of attention, rightfully so.
Rightfully so. They do a lot of work.
It's like the forgotten stepchild of the medical health system. Tell us why you pursued a PA instead of one of those other more well-known, and then what got you interested in that?
Yeah, so I originally, when going to college, knew like medicine was definitely always going to be, I was going to be pre-med regardless. And there's in the school that I went to in upstate New York, it was just a matter of, you go in, you go for pre-med. It wasn't necessarily that you needed to know nurse, PA, or MD at that time. But then I started doing a lot of shadowing and gained experience through that. And it was when I shadowed an actual PA that I was kind of enlightened by the profession and saw how hands-on they were, but also how much responsibility and autonomy that they had. So that's what kind of got me into it. It was neurosurgery actually. And so even more so, to be in an operating room, it was very exciting. It was like, wow, you'd think that would be just surgeon or a PA doing very little, but closures and everything. It was very hands-on. So I really appreciated that. And so then I looked into surgical programs for PAs, and there's 2 in the country. One is Cornell in Manhattan, and then another one is in the South, I believe. And so I ended up getting into Cornell. I was very, very excited. And then through my rotations, I pursued surgery. So I went into orthopedic surgery, worked with a lot of inflammatory disease with particularly arthritis, autoimmune conditions. that were debilitating patients in the sense of, a lot of joint pain, day-to-day activities completely debilitated. So I really enjoyed it. Giving them even just the ability to move again was very, very rewarding. However, that being said, I also saw kind of the shortcomings that full circle, we weren't providing, it didn't feel like we were providing the best of care because lifestyle was not talked about. So the more and more, I was in that for 5 or 6 years, the more procedures we did, it became more of elective procedures than, life-threatening, like acute surgery. And with that, it was just, we were not asking about their diet at all. We were not asking about even genetics.
Can we camp out in that a second? Because this is something that comes up as a theme over and over and over again on my shows, Austin. And
Yeah,
I like everybody identifies that as a problem. Okay, we wait till they get in their most critical of chronic disease care need. And then we go, oh, I guess we should have done something. Let's
right.
back and get to the preventative care aspect of things.
Exactly.
That's very controversial. It's very talked about within your medical profession, but nobody ever does anything about it. And I think it goes back to medical school training, not really having a whole lot of input in this area.
Yes, I would totally agree. Even in PA school, I mean, nutrition, it was more. It was very limited. It was more about the breakdown of protein, fat, and carbs in your body, like on a physiological level. But it wasn't about, what is a proper diet, or, if you have this condition, what should you consider eliminating or changing, or eating for your health was not the focus. It was just this is a particle, and this is how it's broken down. It was very scientific.
I'll tell you, I had an experience with a PA in my local doctor's office down here. When the doctor's out, the PA sees the patient. I guess
Yes.
that's protocol. And so the PA comes in, and something on my panel was a little bit low. And she's like, oh, that's nothing to be worried about. Well, so I push back and I go, because I try not to be disrespectful to medical people. I know a lot of stuff, but I don't act like a prick about it.
Yeah. No, I half the
And
time I don't even tell them I'm a PA. I just go in. I'm like,
right,
okay.
exactly. Well, isn't that low an indication of da da da? I forget exactly what it was. This is many years ago. And she's like, oh, wow, I was never taught that. And so I taught her something
Yes.
that, and I suppose that's something that every patient needs to be aware of. The people you go see, PAs, even MDs and nurses, they can all be taught as well. And this is a part, I think, of
Yes.
the solution to this too, is when you have information without being threatening, or, the old guard medical doctors may take offense to it. Well, you're telling me
Right.
what to do. I have the knowledge and experience.
Yeah.
But a younger PA or nurse or even younger doctor might be more receptive if it's presented in a way that isn't making it look like you're playing doctor on Google.
Right. Absolutely. No, for sure. Yeah, many people say I read, and then it's kind of that immediate, oh, you went on Google, and they discredit you. But even in my own family, I always encourage them to ask questions. And it's funny how you say, like, some doctors are just like, no, no, listen to me. And I hate that. I really, I think it's kind of, yeah, like you said, it's like threatening. The patient just kind of gets low in their chair and feels like, oh, well, he must know best. But no, I think we should be an advocate for ourselves always.
And there's the problem. Like, patients don't want to stand up for their own interests. I always teach, because I'm like the empowered patient that tries to teach patients
Yes.
that you're not in control. If you're talking to a doctor, a PA, a nurse, they are consultants in your health. They're not the grand almighty God that
Right.
tells you you must do these things. They're like a consultant in your business. And in this case, your business is your health. Now,
Yeah.
you don't know. These consultants have good knowledge, but they're not the ones that make final decisions. So I wish patients would recognize that's their role, rather than just say, well, the person in the white coat told me, blah,
Right.
blah, blah. take a statin medication, so I guess I have to take this, not knowing why they're taking it.
Exactly, 110%. And I always, remind, like I said, family, friends, that at the end of the day, they're not losing sleep because you're having, itchy skin or dry hair or something's going on that hasn't yet been, shed light on as far as what's the reason and how can we make it better. They're not thinking of those things day in and day out. You will be. That's your health. So or getting off the medication, like, is much easier for them to say, here's another refill. So much easier than saying, all right, let's figure out how we can get you off this medication. So you really do have to stand up and say, no, this is my health goal. This is what I want to accomplish. I don't want to be on medication for the rest of my life. Let's take a stand.
And let's not forget the indelible tentacles and fingers of the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah.
A big role in teaching in medical school, in the CME credits. I've been to some of those conferences where get and PAs and nurses all get CME credits. And it's like they're pervasive in the whole system. And it's like you have to break that system as well in order to get through to patients figuring out why things are being told to them in the way they're being told.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. They focus more on the solution. Like I said, it really is a lack of focus on prevention and taking it back, saying, why did this happen versus, oh, well, we don't exactly know why, but we have a solution that'll cover it up.
What's amazing to me, Austin, is we have so much scientific literature now that shows that food is a lot more powerful than we ever thought it was in our health. And that metabolically, like almost 9 out of 10 people are dealing with some level of insulin resistance directly related to what I call crappy garbage in the diet. And it's just leading to more inflammation and higher insulin and all the metabolic effects of metabolic syndrome and insulin resistance. And why that can't trickle into frontline people. I know you yourself know this stuff, but you're one out of 1,000 maybe medical people who understands this stuff on any level.
Yeah, no, I really, and it's where do you bring it in? I would love for it to be in the education department, but I don't know, people, it's like they're stuck in their ways, or this is how we've always done it. And that's the sad thing. That's what you see reflected in the hospital too. Like, why are these patients who just had surgery for an inflamed joint getting inflammatory foods? That makes no sense. You're giving them ice cream and pop pure sugar after their surgery to rebuild what you just, apparently fixed on a superficial level, but
we all know you need glucose to heal. Come on, Austin. Knows that.
I know. It's even funny, people they're who are in, like-minded and in are aware of insulin resistance and metabolic dysfunction. They have to go into a hospital for a procedure or something. They're like, what should I ask or say or not? I'm like, you don't need the glucose in your IV just being shot into you. You will be fine in a ketogenic state. You don't even need to eat, like, fast if you want.
I'm gonna say it'd be far better if they ate nothing. Like
Absolutely.
If I was for a week or less, I would almost say, just don't feed me anything. What
Exactly.
you want? Nothing. What do you want for lunch? Not water. Water and salt. Water and real salt, and I'm good.
I know. Honestly, I think that should be part of it, because it's amazing what they were food-wise, what they were given, and it made no sense.
Look at what's happened though. We have normalized crappy garbage, especially in a hospital setting. Been told that fasting is starvation and incredibly dangerous. We've been told an all meat diet, like, that is the stupidest, craziest thing you could possibly do.
Yep.
Like, so many things that we take for granted as normal and fine, that the world out there would go, whoa, 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 what are you trying to do to people?
Right. No, it's very true. Everything, which is why, you know, I some days, yeah, I get frustrated and I'm like, just, you know, how can I get through? How can I continue to help people? But I have to remind myself that it's not it's not their fault. It's not anybody's fault. Like, this is what we were told. This is what we were, you know, everything is, oh, this is from the, whether it's the government or these studies, even if they were, you know, rigged studies, and not actually well conducted studies. It's still, it's what we were told. It's what we believed, and it's changing that yes, it's going to be a hurdle, but we just have to persist on.
So I'm curious, did you find carnivore before you became a PA or after?
So after, I was paleo when I started practicing.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you already understood the value of healthy fats, the value of animal-based foods, probably some gut microbiome and things like
definitely.
that. You all the value of that from your paleo world. Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Paleo, I did the kind of the classic transition from paleo to keto to carnivore.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and that's a natural thing. Like people always like, wow, you really jumped to carnivore. No, most people don't just jump from sad to
right.
carnivore.
Yeah,
Most people have
and
that
that's
kind
definitely
of
something for those who do want to go from standard American diet to carnivore. Those are the ones that I actually, with clients anyway, I have a little bit of concern as far as the mindset, because it can be like, you know, I'm going to drop this weight, or I'm going to get healthy, or it's a short-term mindset. And I think that progression, that transition, is very helpful to make it a long-term sustainable approach.
part of the challenge is when people go to make some kind of diet change, generally the motivation is weight loss.
Right.
And our culture has hammered that into us. I don't even think the biggest benefit of a carnivore diet is weight loss. A lot of people lose
Yeah.
weight on it. It's wonderful. But the primary benefit of carnivore is not even close to weight loss.
No.
How do you pitch it to your clients who come to you and say, I want to lose weight, Austin. Help me how to
Mhm.
change my diet, Austin. Weight loss is the only goal I have. How do you reframe that for them?
So yeah, I think the big focus needs to be on healing, and healing, it's going to be from the inside out. A lot of it has to do with this, you know, having restricted eating for years and years and years. Again, focusing on like metabolically fixing the issue, which many people say, you know, oh, that's their first complaint, is they turn to a carnivore diet for weight loss and they don't lose the weight in the beginning. And it's because immediately I say, your hormones are still broken. Like, we haven't fixed anything yet.
And they're also very likely to be protein deficient,
Yeah,
having eaten that diet. Like people think, well, I had hamburgers. No, you had pseudo-ish kind of meat-ish
right.
stuff with a whole lot of refined carbohydrate in your sad diet. So you're incredibly deficient in amino acids.
Yes.
So rebuilding that is going to pack on a little bit of weight when you first
Oh,
start.
definitely.
A healthy way, like weight on the scale. I so wish there was some other way people could measure without stepping on a scale.
Oh, I
But see,
know.
they've
The
been conditioned
scale is so
to
frustrating.
what?
The scale is so frustrating, especially with a protein diet, because you are going to hold on to water. And when you up that amount of protein, you're holding on to that water, in order to kind of flush out the kidneys. The kidneys need that water because now there's a greater demand. So people say, oh man, I'm gaining weight, I'm gaining weight. Yeah, you're like, until your kidneys ramp up and they're, you know, feel that they become kind of a new adaptation as far as processing that amount of protein. Like, all those, that fluid balance is going to work itself out, but you got to trust the process. And even if you do gain a little bit of fat in the meantime, this is like subcutaneous fat. You know, the aim is to minimize visceral fat. I mean, again, this is all metabolic health. Metabolically, we are fixing things. This is not about the weight loss. That weight loss will come, but first, and I always give it, because time frame is a very, very heavily weighted, and everybody's like, well, how long? How long? So I say, well, how old are you? Okay, well, think how many years, let's say they're 60 years old. So you expected weight loss in 6 days or even 6 weeks when you've been eating a standard American diet or been metabolically broken for 60 years? Oh my
Right.
God.
Or even 6 months, or even
Yeah,
6 years. Like, let's get real
exactly.
about the cumulative effects of this, and that each year that you continued in the bad pattern
Oh
is
yeah.
adding more time in the healing. Like, people, there's no other diet I've ever heard of other than like a keto, carnivore, even paleo. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm not seeing immediate results. I'm like, I've never heard anybody say that about a low fat diet or a vegan diet. Like, it just doesn't get that onus put on it.
Right. Yeah. No, I think, again, the mindset needs to be this long-term approach and that you're healing. It is not a quick fix. If
But
that is
but
what social media portrayed and that's what you took, I'm sorry, you will be very disappointed.
you know what it is? It's all the hype. It's all
Yeah.
the positiveness, and rightfully so. Carnivore, keto, paleo, all of those have their place in our culture of people getting better. But it's been so hyped as, oh wow, look at this weight loss success. Oh wow, look at this health turnaround.
Mhm.
I've had many people on this show before who have had massive turnarounds. I had one girl recently, Rebecca Farmer. You probably know
Oh yeah.
her, who Tailored Keto Health is her username, and she overcame 20 like autoimmune
Incredible story.
time. My God, she's like the poster child of carnivore
She
healing your
is.
body. And it's those kinds of stories that put that expectation on people.
Mhm.
Well, I guess if I go keto or carnivore, that's the results I'm going to have, and so they
Right.
want it. And if it doesn't happen as quickly for them, then they get pissed.
Right. Yeah. Like it's 2 to 3 weeks in and they're writing in on the Facebook group or, the social media group, like, why, what am I doing wrong? And then that's another thing that many people, so a carnivore is often used as an elimination approach, which I think it's a very, very useful tool for that, especially with people with autoimmune conditions, chronic conditions. But with that, many people believe that going more strict is going to get you a quicker result or like a better result. And I've
What
actually seen,
what's more strict on a carnivore diet? Leaner meats?
well, just going like beef, water, salt versus doing eggs
Uh,
and chicken and pork. Just bringing it down to kind of Michaela Peterson's uh,
Lion.
lion diet. Yeah, so they believe that, well, I'm doing everything so strict. Why am I not seeing results? And even strict carnivore does not mean faster results, faster weight loss. It does not mean better results. It is strict carnivore is more for, again, people with conditions where they need to really eliminate everything and kind of zone in on what is affecting them, what is causing them the joint pain or the headaches or those types of things. So this again, this all or nothing mentality, it's not long term.
So, is there any benefit? Because I know in the world of fasting, there's benefit to switching up your fasting protocol. One day you do 18-6, next day you do OMAD, the day after that, maybe you skip and do a 36 to 42-hour fast, and you kind of just keep your body guessing. Is there any benefit to doing the same thing with carnivore? One day you have beef, the next day you have pork, the next day you have chicken, you just kind of
Yeah.
mix it up. That work in the same way?
I haven't actually done experiments as far as like strategically changing the different types of animals. But I myself can say that I definitely have days where I'm like, oh, I just really want like chicken wings, or I just really want a piece of seafood. So I think, over time, and it will be after like I've done just beef for, months on end,
Yeah.
where I don't know if my microbiome wants a little something different or just maybe a little bit different of a amino acid profile. I don't know. Or if it's that I'm lacking, omega 3s more one week than the other. But I haven't actually done strategically like, yes, you should only do pork this week or anything like
Yeah.
that.
That would be so fascinating to me to see what like cyclical protein would look like.
Right.
Um, and I'm an egg guy because I got 15 beautiful birds in my backyard.
Wow, I'm so jealous.
Beautiful fat and protein nuggets for me every single day. So I tend to eat probably as the primary source of my meat, eggs.
Okay.
Food and so full of nutrients. So I'm not
Yeah.
hating that.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
like an egg is the most balanced natural food there is, I believe. It really is.
and I'll even note, and some people have written me about this. I would love to hear your feedback. Some people don't really do well with beef for some reason. Is it an allergy to the beef? Is it just an aversion to one of the amino acids in it or the fat profile? What's going on that some people tend to have trouble with beef, whereas other proteins don't bother them like that?
So beef is actually one that I haven't seen. Like there is like an allergy if you get there's a tick, like an alpha. Yeah, so you can have a beef. That's the only instance that I've ever, and I personally haven't had a client with that, but I have had people ask me about it. Other than that, I think people tolerate beef pretty well. But for those who don't, lamb, like the other ruminants are other options that they tend to do okay with. Lamb is many people do well with lamb. It's just a matter of whether or not they like the taste. Other people goat. And then there are people, I don't know many carnivores though that just do like chicken. So if anything, I would say it would be more pork than anything, with bacon and pork belly and those types of things. But yeah, I can't say I know a carnivore that is like chicken all the way, or seafood all the way.
Yeah, now you're speaking my language of pork belly. If I had one food that I could eat in my life, it would be pork bellies.
Yes, no, it really is. And there's so many, especially now with the air fryer, people are just obsessed.
But yeah, chicken is a funny one because we know that some of the amino acids in chicken actually can be insulinogenic.
Mhm.
And very well known in the literature. People can go look that up if you want to look at it. But that's an argument against having so much chicken. And it's not even like the leaner cuts, it's just chicken in general. It's the
Yeah.
protein content in chicken. So do you discourage people away from that, or do you encourage a variety of the proteins?
Yeah, so if they are not suffering from, a major condition, autoimmune condition, or, just chronic conditions in general, I think to make it more sustainable, I encourage them to eat a variety. But for sourcing of chicken is definitely something I educate clients on because you can just get bad chicken. So that's not something that I recommend doing raw, which like 98% of my diet's raw, but I won't go near chicken.
We we were getting there with the raw. That's coming up next. So keep going.
Yes. Yeah. So I think sourcing chicken is really, really important. I think if you can get, corn and soy free, if you are going to go out of your way to get, if you want to, order the delivered meat for your beef, grass fed, grass finished, fine. I always think sourcing locally is important, but especially with chicken, with pork, those smaller farms, smaller amount of animals, that attention to detail, I think that's important for chicken for sure.
I saw this guy the other day on IGTV. He's
Uh-huh.
like, I'm going to eat a whole raw chicken.
Oh,
And he literally, I forget the guy's name, but he was savage. And
oh,
he's a
man.
carnivore guy. I just can't remember his name. He's not Sean Baker or Paul
Yeah.
Saladino, but it was a guy. And he just sat there just kind of ripping it apart and doing what his carnivore animalistic spirit told him to do. He ate that whole thing in like 20 minutes. A
Oh my
whole
goodness. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm totally fine raw with everything else, even like raw chicken livers I've done, but the chicken it's like a slimier,
yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a texture thing.
Can you clean it up? Can you like wash off the slime and put some
Yeah, that's
salt
the
on
thing. Even
it.
handling chicken, like I've gotten like the wings or there, like I used to do like chicken thighs. I don't know. It's even handling it. Like beef, I don't ever worry about bacteria or anything like that. But with chicken, I do. I don't know. It's in my mind that it's like a dirty bird.
Well, and I guess that's part of kind of our preconceived notions about chicken. Well, you can't undercook chicken. I remember watching
Yeah.
Gordon, all those cooking channels. You undercook the chicken.
Yeah,
For that,
it's very true.
it
Yeah,
would
it's like
be.
salmonella in
I
my
wonder
head.
exactly, and I wonder if it's a quality chicken and you know where it came from. You got it from a local farm. Da, 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 da. Does that change anything? Apparently not in your head.
Well, then I think it becomes more like, well, if I'm going to eat the chicken and it's well sourced, I want crispy skin on it. So I'm going to cook it. Like yeah, I think unlike beef where yes, you can get a char on it, but like chicken, it's got the skin. It's like take
Yeah.
advantage.
You don't want to mess with the skin and let it go to waste without charring
That's
that back.
right.
So let's get into the benefits of raw because you start talking about raw, like
Mhm.
it's hard enough to get people to wrap their heads around just eating meat. But
I
then you go
know.
meat and animal foods that are raw. And I've seen these people that'll have a pound of ground beef and they'll crack, 3 or 4 eggs on top of that. And I mean, like people would look at that and go,
Yeah. Oh,
like, wait.
even when because Zoom and Skype are now like an everyday. So even with family and friends who know that I'm doing this, I'm unaware of I'll be preparing my dinner, and there will be a lamb heart or just organs and even not organs, just a ribeye that's raw, and they're looking at me like, and I don't know. I'm so used to it that I don't even flinch. But yeah, so raw really, it's for me, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to get more nutrients out of it if I eat it raw. It wasn't intentional. It was just kind of, it feels good. Digestion was better for me. It also, I would become a little bit more full, like more satiated more quickly, which I think it just has to do with the fact that you're not dehydrating the meat. So it has more water content. So it can make you feel a little bit more full. Um, but I think there are benefits to vitamins and minerals not being cooked out of it for sure. Even with organs, I've always done it raw, and it's just because I don't know, like putting liver even in a pan, searing it almost creates like a layer that's like that you got to bite into, which I never liked. Like I think raw is just a much better texture. Um, so
With the
yeah,
throat, you like the liver to just sliver down your throat?
yes, I like for what not the chicken, but I like slimy liver.
But I remember Chris Kresser many years ago said to basically take liver from a good quality source, not just some Joe Schmo liver, get
Uh-huh.
good quality liver, slice it into little pill sizes,
Yes.
freeze that, then a couple times a day, just take some of that and swallow it
Yeah,
like a pill, and you'll get all the liver you need for the week. And I'm like, well, that's brilliant for people that don't like that taste.
for sure. Yeah, I will tell them go get the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday little pill bottles for your freezer and put them right in there. The other thing is mixing it in with ground beef.
Yeah,
I personally, that's one thing I don't do. I don't eat ground beef. I don't know why. Like I would much rather have a texture of a steak.
yeah.
So,
I'm
um,
I'm a hyper taster, Austin. So I taste things that nobody else tastes. Like coffee, I can't take coffee. It's so bitter, it's gross to me. And,
okay.
and I
I
taste
don't
things.
drink coffee either.
So I taste things, I smell things
Yeah.
on a more enhanced level. And so even trying to hide liver in ground beef, I
Hard, no.
taste nasty stuff.
You're
So
the kid who's like, nope, mom, you didn't get me this time.
the frozen or the freeze dried organs tend to work pretty good with me. Is that okay? By the way, the freeze dried?
Yeah, so honestly, the best thing to get organs, I mean, you want them flash frozen. like, because if they sit out even a day or two is really all they last in the refrigerator. Can't say I'm a huge fan or believer of the desiccated organs. I'm not really playing into that. I don't think we know, to what degree. And again, it's more of going back to this supplement and processing of it. It's just not a huge fan. But yes, flash frozen by all means. And if that hides the taste, that hides the texture, double whammy, by all means, go for it.
And then we have the other kind of wrinkle in the discussion. And by the way, this is a pleasant conversation. Thank you for this.
No, I love it.
Is the different personality types of people. You got people that are like me, type A. Let's go. Tell me how to do it. I'll do it. Whatever you say. Let's go. Ready to go. Above the volume. Right. We're going to go do it. They go, this sounds gross. Like, how do you circumnavigate all of that? So kind of take the happy-go-lucky, let's get it. What happens to those people? Because generally they get excited and then they fizzle unless they get some kind of something that reinforces they're doing good. And then the meh people, how do you get them up to begin with?
Yeah. So many people, they would love okay, all or nothing. I'm all in. Let's do this. And I honestly think some of those people can be most challenging. And the reason is because, again, it's not this focus on a long-term approach. So they'll be the ones who are like, all right, I'm starting the workout, 4 a.m., I'm getting up, and I'm doing the diet, and I'm doing this. And I'm like, whoa, slow it down a minute. Because when we put all of these things together, that's what's going to set us up for all or nothing. And then, you fall off the wagon and then all of it goes down the drain. So I honestly think that the ones who are a little bit apprehensive, who are like, I don't know, you implement small changes, you kind of pepper in the changes. They are, again, I think it's just such a better approach for long-term sustainability. Even if, many people come to me and they don't go carnivore, they go carnivore-ish or they're keto. I would much rather you be on a keto diet or, a low carb, high fat approach, and then be working your way to incorporating more animals, less plants, depending on what triggers you or what causes flare-ups for you, than to be all or nothing and then fall off to a standard American diet and have these waves of acute inflammation. Like, what are we doing then? The long-term goal isn't being worked toward. So,
what happened for me with my keto was, without even like trying to be carnivore, I drifted that way only because those were the foods that generally made me feel the best. Right. And I remember at the time people were like, why aren't you eating green beans with your hamburgers? And I'm going, I don't know. I don't really feel like having green beans. I just want the burgers. Maybe a little bit of cheese on them or something. But I found myself like wanting that more and more. And here's the funny part, Austin. At first, as a keto person, I felt guilty. I can't just have meat. I need these other things. Oh, I've got to have a little bit of sauerkraut for my microbiome. And so all these like messages, and people play those mind games with themselves. They're, oh my gosh, this is horrible. I'm only eating meat. Whereas they don't see it's a thing.
It is a thing. I know. Even getting my family and friends, their heads around it. They were like, well, you need your veggies and this and that. And then they actually turned to a more ketogenic diet, and same thing. Yeah, broccoli doesn't agree. Cauliflower, it is 110% keto. There's cauliflower keto products all over. Doesn't mean it's going to make you feel good. So it is. It's very individualized, and you naturally kind of cut these things out. Like, oh, if that thing, cauliflower gives me gas like no other. Well, gas really, that's not normal. That's kind of a red flag. Like, there's a digestive issue. So yeah, you do kind of naturally go in that way. And that's kind of the importance of just with consulting and coaching, is to have them kind of stumble upon that themselves, that, oh, I feel better this way, like, as versus being dogmatic or saying this is allowed, this is not allowed. Using even the word cheat. I don't like those types of connotations. So I think it should be a natural progression.
All of that is diet culture, and we're trying to break all of that.
Exactly.
So what about the ambivalent one, the meh? Tell me I should do this kind of thing.
Yeah, so I really kind of, again, I focus for those on the ones that aren't 110% believing it or on board, that it really is. I try and give them a little bit more of the science in the sense of overall long-term health and preventative medicine. Because, yeah, when you don't, especially if you're not conflicted with a disease or having true, symptoms of anything specific, those are the ones where it's harder to convince them because they're like, I feel fine, but they don't know, what their baseline is compared to what they could feel like with even paleo or keto or carnivore. It's a new baseline. So kind of introducing them to more the preventative aspect, and that, well, let's just experiment a little bit, just amuse me, and then they start to do that themselves. Again, I think if they see that, and a lot of times those are the ones where I actually encourage them, if you have, they'll say, oh, I have a party, this and that. I said, okay, well, go ahead, indulge if you want to indulge, because it's those ones who, when they see how they feel on the standard American diet, now they're like, oh, now, okay, that's what I'm supposed to feel like. And this is what I thought was normal. So that is telling in itself.
Missing in the day to day when you're eating kind of standard American, you feel like crap all the time, but you don't know why. But when you clean up your diet and then you go back to that again, it's like, oh my God, you don't realize what you were doing to yourself.
Yeah, no, they have a new appreciation for a new normal, and they want to continue with that, which it speaks for itself. I really don't, after that point, I don't have to do the convincing, but, so again, mindset's important, because they'll get down on themselves like, oh, I fell off the wagon. And it's like, no, actually, you just enlightened yourself as to how good you can feel. So we embrace this. This is a lesson. This is information. This is awesome.
It's all a part of the journey. I tell people there is no off the wagon. We need to kick the wagon analogy.
I know. It's another term, just like cheat. I hate it.
Cheat and yeah. You mentioned something a moment ago, Austin, that I think is so cool. When you teach your clients, you're not really giving them a do's, don'ts, rules kind of list. You're kind of trying to get them to figure out rules and thinking and modes of doing this on their own, because when people do it on their own, they tend to stick with it because they feel that pride of, oh, wow, look what I learned, and now look what I'm implementing. Right. So is that a strategy by design?
Absolutely. I think mindset and just, kind of creating your own rule book it's very empowering. So that is something I work with. Many people who come to me, they know what carnivore is, giving them a food list or a shopping list, or, telling them eat animal. That is an outline, that is a structure that anybody can provide you. But my coaching, specifically works on coming up with a plan that's individualized, really changing the mindset, again, this long-term health, and coaching them through the process in order to attain whatever it is, whatever their goal is, whether it is weight loss, whether it is, long-term, just longevity, reversing a disease. But the mindset and really making up their own rule book. The question, it's hard when people come to me and just say, what's allowed, or what can I? It's like, you can put anything you want in your mouth. Like, that's not what I'm here for. I can definitely tell you, what's considered a clean source, quality source. We can get into the nuances of that, but the mindset, making it a lifestyle, is what this is about.
Peeps aren't carnivore.
What's that?
Peeps.
Oh, the little marshmallows.
Oh, chicks that look like, yeah.
I never liked those. They were always cute, but I think it was I'm not a marshmallow texture person.
If I wanted a marshmallow, I'd have marshmallow, but not peeps.
You don't like the grainy sugar that's all over them?
Or the Swedish fish, that's also not carnivore, guys.
Oh, yes, those are not.
And they're not Swedish either. I've got friends in Sweden, they're like, we do not know what this Swedish fish is.
They're again, not my favorite texture, especially if you get them at a movie theater. I feel like they've been in the box for years. They're so old.
They're so stale. No, back in the day, it was Twizzlers, the Red Vine Twizzlers for me
Oh
back in
yeah,
the day for movie theater.
I was a Junior Mints girl.
Ah, see, I wanted to drink a soda, and if you have Junior Mints, you can't have a soda.
That's true. It's a cooling effect.
See, we could talk about carbs because we eat carnivore now,
I
guys.
know. It's really funny though when you think back. You're like, I used to eat that. Like I went to a friend's. We went to. I had just a small dinner the other night, and they put me on bread duty because they know I don't eat bread, and I hadn't bought bread in years. So they're like, "Oh, get this kind of baguette." I had to look it up. I was like, I don't even know what I'm looking for right now. And I thought back, I was like, when was the last time I ate bread?
Here's the funny thing: you probably felt weird checking out.
I did. I
I
immediately felt judgment.
do the same thing. And here's the thing: I'm a public figure, and people know me out there. So can you imagine if I'm buying for a party like dessert and paparazzi?
Right. Oh, for sure. What'd you get in?
Told you he was sneaking dessert when we weren't looking.
That's right.
Would not end well for me. So I'd be like, no, I'll bring the bacon. You guys bring the carbs.
Right. No, I don't think I'm that popular. Not yet, anyway. So maybe not ever, but that's okay.
Absolutely. Austin Cavelli is her name. Again, you guys
Yes.
go check her out. Quality
Quality
Carnivore.
Carnivore. I am here on Instagram, on Facebook. I'll be starting a YouTube channel with just some education around quality food and just education in general on overall health, longevity. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And as always, send me pictures of your organ meats. I absolutely love it. Send me pictures of you're trying new things, textures, cooking methods. I'm all about making this a lifestyle for sure.
I want to sous vide a beef tongue.
Sous vide. I have not sous vide a beef tongue. I've only done it in the crock pot. The
Yeah,
soup
I did crock
is
pot.
useful.
I had a local farmer, they don't exist anymore, but about 20 miles from me that I used to get all kind of little odd bits because they would just throw them away. Nobody bought those things. I'm like, I'll buy them. And they gave me like 2 beef tongues for $2. I was like, deal.
Oh my God.
It's muscle meat. So I
Dream.
stuck in the crock pot. And I remember the first time it stunk up the whole house. It was so
I
gross.
know.
And I had ACV in there and some other
Yep.
things to soften it up a little bit.
So many
Oh,
people say that, like even just with bone broth, they're like, "Oh, I want to make it, but I don't want the whole house to smell."
stinks pretty bad. But then, like, you split that open and you pull it, and
The
it's
milk
this
brain.
full shredded beef. I
Yep.
remember at the time I wasn't carnivore. I doctored it up with some spices. I know they do like taco kind of things with
Okay.
the
Yeah,
language.
yeah. Like tongue tacos, they're incredible.
Yeah, and so you got that shredded beef, and so I was putting all kind of little seasonings on there, and then the seasonings became too spicy, so then I needed to soften it, so I threw blueberries on top of it to help
Oh,
that, and it actually worked pretty well. So
that would actually, yeah, some kind of the bitterness of it would also be really good. I would think with the fat. Oh wow, that's like a genius idea.
that was dental because it's all I had in my refrigerator that I could see other than sour cream that I could have put on top of it to calm down that heat.
Right. That's really, yeah, no, out here in California, the beef tongue tacos, that's totally a staple. So
Yes.
yeah, my local farm, they had lamb tongue, which for me was ideal just because a beef tongue is so huge. So I feel like I have it in the fridge or the freezer forever. They're about 3 pounds.
All I
Yeah,
see is this part of it, but when it goes all the way back to the throat and down the throat, it's about
yeah.
long guy. We're talking a foot long.
It's about on average 3 pounds, but the little lamb tongues will be like maybe like half a pound or, yeah, it's more like a half a pound. So for those, it's like, oh, it's so cute anyway. But you put that in the crock pot and it's only like an hour or two. And
Oh,
it's just more of a
people are,
one person meal.
people are so weird though, Austin, about the tongue just specifically. Oh wow, they is it gonna lick me back if I eat it? And it's like, okay,
Yes.
muscle. It's
There
muscle
are
meat.
jokes that can go with the tongue, eating of the tongue. Same with
Yeah.
beef testicles. I mean, you could get them all day.
Rocky Mountain oysters, is that what
That's
they call them?
right. Yep, that's it. That is it.
So guys, go check her out, qualitycarnivore.com. She does
Yep.
custom meal plans and labs, helps you
Yep.
reduce inflammation, fight disease. You do a live. Is it on Instagram Live
Yes,
that you
I
do?
do Instagram Live every Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Which is 7 p.m. Eastern. And
Yeah.
yeah, go check her out again, Quality Carnivore. Austin, thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been awesome. We could talk for hours.
I have known you for a long time, but this is the first time we've ever got to
Yes,
actually talk.
and you are the reason that I switched from paleo to keto. I read your book and I just dove in head first. All the science was there, and yeah, so I have you to thank for part of my health journey. And then yeah, meeting you at KetoCon. I mean, it's been a pleasure. I'm so glad we've connected, and this was awesome, absolutely awesome. I'd love to do it again.
Thank you. Yeah, I keep telling people this
That's
book changed
it.
that book
It
changed
really.
in so many ways. Like when I was writing it, I knew it was going to be special, but it's gone beyond all of my wildest expectations.
Absolutely. No, I pass it on to everyone that I'm trying to kind of help them in the low carb, high fat. I just got my parents on it after 6 years and they are thriving. So again, thank you to you.
Thank you. And you mentioned you're going to do a YouTube video channel. Any book ideas? Because I think a
Yeah, no,
PA
I feel like
is kind of a unique concept. I haven't heard any other
yeah.
PAs doing this.
Yeah, no, I would like to kind of, whether it's kind of sharing my journey, and then going into the details of carnivore. I've definitely thought about books and also carnivore cookbook just for, I really, the organ meats I think are so important, nose to tail. So it's
Nope.
something I love.
No, nobody knows how to cook organ meats. That's
That's
your
it.
in.
I know.
Quality Carnivore Cooking with Austin Cavelli. That's your book.
Yes. I know. No, honestly, I think that it is that organs are intimidating, and so if I can debunk that and make it very approachable, I think that would be very useful.
And helping people source where they can get good and look for what not to look for.
Yes,
That oh girl.
focusing on quality. I
When the
know there's so much in store. I'm very excited. Very, very excited.
when the time comes, if I can help you in any way, I hope you know I would be delighted to do
Oh,
that.
I appreciate that so much. You have no idea. That really means a lot to me. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. We'll keep Austin weird.
Yes, of course, always. I know I'm not, you don't have to be raw and eat every single organ meat, but I will encourage you to try it and just trust me a little bit.